back, everybody, to another one of our convos. And today we are joined by another very special guest, Emily Satterlee from ityDity. With me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Dries Walker. Say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everybody? Artist D Walker here with Living Life Fearless, and we're here to chat it up with awesome, talented entrepreneur, musician on a awesome sort of like, I guess, groundbreaking even platform, ityDity, sorry.
Happened.
Just rolls off the tongue like that, but yeah, ityDity, which it sounds like such a cool concept. So we're gonna chop it up with Emily to find out more about that, and yeah.
So I guess to start, maybe if you just want to like introduce yourself, what do you do, how do we come here today?
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me here today. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm Emily Satterlee, founder of ityDity, and we are I do believe what we're doing is groundbreaking, and it is, what we say that we're doing is rebuilding trust in the music industry. So it's kind of a big deal. But we're starting with the songwriter-producer relationship. So in a nutshell, what ityDity is a producer, an artist, songwriter, producer matchmaking platform.
Okay, and how long when did you first launch? How long has it been going?
Yeah, I had the idea, the little seed for ityDity 7 years ago. 5 years ago, I made the first prototype. And for about 4 years, we've been doing a lot of beta testing. I started it. I'm from the music industry in LA, and then I moved out to Colorado and started it there, which actually worked because, a lot of songwriters don't have access to producers and resources in places like Colorado. So it was a great place to work with a lot of songwriters in kind of like a beta testing mode to experiment and see, how to tweak this platform to actually make it work for people at scale.
That's cool. I mean, we're both from Colorado too. Colorado Springs is where you went to high school together. And
nice.
Yeah, like you said, they don't have it's not the most accessible in terms of the industry and everything, but there's still a huge music scene and a lot of musicians out there. And I guess that would feel like a huge need for people. And I guess I wasn't really when people talk about the industry and being a songwriter in the industry, it's always kind of from almost a negative perspective nowadays. It's good luck with that. You just hear a lot of horror stories. I don't know if you personally, cause you said you also were in music yourself when you first started out. So did you have any personal stories like that, from dealing with, bad people?
Of course. Yeah, definitely. All the time with, that's how I got started on the path. Even way before ityDity, I was kind of doing producer songwriter matching in LA and Orange County, just kind of in person, through meetups and stuff. And I did that because of the early experiences I had when I was a songwriter, and just kind of seeing what a crapshoot it was as a DIY independent artist trying to navigate how to get your songs produced, how to find the right people to work with, how to know who to trust, and what you even want for your music. All of that is so hard, especially when you're starting out, when you're often really young and you don't have the experience. So I definitely have, specific horror stories. The first time when I was 20, I was playing my songs out live. I was approached by a producer who wanted to work with me. And this was early 2000s. So home recording was kind of a new concept at the time, and kind of going over to someone's house and recording out of their bedroom was kind of new. And we really hit it off. We made a lot of good songs together. We didn't have any contracts in place up front. And so when he wanted to then, date me, and I didn't want to date him back, decided he wanted to keep all the songs. And there was some label interest too. I was in Southern California. I had some contacts in the industry. So I had a friend who passed these songs off to some people at a record label, and there was interest. And as soon as that started happening, then all of a sudden he was making all of these kind of gratuitous demands about wanting half the songwriting credits. And he was really just butthurt, I didn't want to date him. And that story is so common. So I came to realize over the years, now it manifests itself in many different ways for both men and women. So, but yeah, I've definitely had my share of those types of experiences.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, I love that. Like, you know, even from bad situations, that become a catalyst to like, how do we eliminate that awkwardness between, you know, an artist and a producer, especially, you know, women who are trying to get in, you know, early on and dealing with male producers. Like, how do you avoid that sort of like, just physical aspect of it and not just focus on the work, you know, the production and making the sound better. And I like how the platform has these steps where there's really nothing about like the artist's look so much as like trying to make this project sound the best.
Yeah, kind of like The Voice.
Right.
No, you're not seeing them first, you're just hearing the song. And totally, I mean, what the sad part about these experiences is that you're losing the magic. It should just be easy. It should just be like, you know, you should be able to put in some work for sure, but it should feel good. And it's really sad. And a lot of times when these things happen to the songwriters in person, they never go back to it. You know, they have one of these experiences, which is sometimes their first experience because, again, they're new to it and they don't know what to look for and how to set themselves up for success. And then they never go back to making music again. So yeah, our site has the steps to take that kind of guide you along the process. That's the biggest thing, is the role that we play as just like a third party, because that's the problem in the current model of the industry, is everything's independent. You're literally working on people's bedrooms. So there's no oversight or protection, or even just a mentor and someone to tell you, oh, maybe, you know, you should have contracts in place. And this is what the contracts, you know, the standard terms would be. And this is how you can talk to a producer to make sure that you get what you want. And to be clear, like, producers, the majority of producers are great people with great intentions, but if you're not aligned and you're not a match and they don't know what you want, and there's no structure in place to like kind of just guide it step by step, then you're just not going to end up with something you like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could end up spending like a lot of money to get a product that you're not happy with or don't even want to use, you know, because like you said, there's no real trial period. You just kind of go into a blind and think a lot of like recent times and like a lot of recent stories, even from like some of the biggest artists in the industry, have all these horror stories. And I think that was like an eye opener to just how kind of crazy the industry and business can be, like you said, because there's no like playbook for this. You kind of just go into it and hopefully things turn out for the best. And I guess, so what's the process for somebody as a songwriter if they wanted to like join your platform and to get their song out there and get made?
Yeah, it's easy. It's super easy. You just post a phone recording on the site, and then producers, we have a vetted directory of producers, and they're going to reach out to you if they like your song, and kind of let you know what they think they could do with it. And then you get to browse through profiles, pick a few of your favorites, and move forward with a few that you like. And those few create a sketch of your song. So that's the big thing, is we vet producers up front too, but then there's like this further vetting process of you get these sketches, so that now you really get to feel out if there's a connection or not, if they are a good match for you or not. And then from those sketches, you pick your favorite. And then we have the third big thing is, so there's vetting, there's sketches, and then there's oversight. So, you know, you have the built-in terms that protect you, but also, again, like that mentor role that we play, you get a song blueprint along with your project. So that's like something that helps you flesh out your style and really empowers you to figure out, you know, what you want. And if a producer is kind of giving you what you want, it's a North Star of the collaboration. So that's it. And then you get your sketches, you hear your song in different ways, and then you pick your favorite and complete the song with your favorite producer. So easy.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at the site a little bit and definitely seemed like a pretty straightforward process in terms of, you know, making that connection, at least in the first place.
Yeah, it's just following steps, you know, like you said, like there's no, if you're not going through ityDity, then you're not, unless you're really experienced with how these things should go, then you're not gonna, you have no steps. So it's really, yeah, just having these like 1, 2, 3 steps, and then everyone understands what's going on. No confusion, and then just being able to figure out, yeah, through the sketches, who's the best match for you.
Yeah, I noticed there's even what I like that it seems like you guys are developing as well is just sort of like learning tools for these new younger artists as well, you know, like telling the new artists what's important in like production or like what to look for and like in songwriting as well. And I just I think that's interesting how there's even a little bit of artist development built into it as well. Is that something like artist development? Is that sort of like a look as well in terms of not just like letting them pick their own, but also trying to like help them in other ways?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, it's not always a producer's fault if they don't, you can be working with a really talented producer and they are a good match for you. Like they do work in the genres you work in and they, you guys share similar influences. And so it should be a good match on paper. But if you don't, as an artist, like flesh out like what you want up front, you're going to be trying to like retool it forever. Like that's one of the big benefits to producers. They tell us this all the time, is that when they're working with a songwriter off ityDity, it can just take so much time back and forth with the revision process, like trying to communicate, because you're not really speaking the same language. Like artists and songwriters don't always know all the production, like they don't know how to ask for less reverb, or they don't know what they're hearing in the production terms. So yeah, we help them flesh that out with the song blueprint, what they're looking for, and then also, yeah, how to like speak the language so that everybody's on the same page. It really streamlines the whole thing. But the biggest thing, and yeah, so it's gonna be faster and easier, but for, what I've always wanted to do is just make sure that people are gonna be happy in the end. And that, we have 80% of, we've done surveys and 80% of songwriters are unhappy off the site, like with the results. And on our site, they're 100% happy. And I think it's, it's the process, but it's also like what you're saying, just the development and setting the songwriter and artist up for success up front. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I had that, I realized like through this whole process, like that, I had that, like, I thought, oh, these, why can't I find the right producer? And it's like, it took me a while, but I was like, I just don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
You can't expect people to read your mind. And record labels used to do all of this. Like they used to find like a diamond in the rough, and they would give them the time and resources and people and tools to develop and then match them with songwriters, but they don't at all. And so I think that whole artist development step's totally overlooked.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think they'll only really exist with like a few just like fringe, sort of lower level,
smaller labels, maybe like, do that. But
like the what's it, Love Revolution, like Summer Walker's camp, they kind of did that a little bit because he found her on YouTube, but like, it's not really that common. They're not like still scouring YouTube looking for new acts and stuff like that. So it's like, to be really finding producers and people who are professional with different sounds, like I can work on one song on your site with the producer and then have something I'm going for differently in another song and still find a producer for that, And I think that's what's really cool about it, is like, that would be so hard, I think, in person, just to like try to like do the grassroots thing and ask around and, maybe hope a meeting goes well kind of thing. So yeah. I don't know. I just think I like that.
If you're not in an area where there's people around to even find somebody, right?
Yeah. Like how many hours does it take to get to the biggest city from where you live, like.
Yeah. And if you're, like you said, asking around grassroots style, which is what people do. People say all the time, like, well, what's your competition? Like how are people, how are artists and songwriters finding producers now? It's like word of mouth. I mean, that's the biggest way. And if you don't even live anywhere where any people working with anyone, like, then if you do go to the next city over, you're not even able to get a personal reference from a friend, because you're just going to find them online or like on their website or something and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that was going to be one of my questions, like, who are the competitors? Because I've looked online, I'm like looking around, it's kind of like, well, there's really nobody else in this space doing what you guys are, doing and trying to do. And it's also kind of amazing that this day and age something like this hasn't like ever existed before. You know, it seems almost like a no-brainer. Like when you explain it to people, it's like, oh yeah, that would be so much easier than the process that we that we do now. Everything else works on an app base or internet base. Like, why can't the same process work in terms of music? You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's like directories of producers for hire, but in my opinion, those are no different than like Craigslist. I mean, you're just looking at someone's resume, and there's, first of all, that doesn't tell you what they're going to be able to do with your song just based on what they've done with someone else's song. Plus, those credits may or may not be substantiated. Like, you don't know. People say like this is on my, this is a song on my portfolio. It's like, well, did you engineer that song? Did you play the guitar on that song? Were you the mixer? Like, what did you do? Yeah, and then so there's directories of producers for hire sites, but yeah, and then I thought of this idea, Dario, when I saw 99 Designs, which is
that was literally going to be my next question.
well, you reminded me of it when you said, well, this could just be so much easier, because I remember seeing that. That was when I thought of the idea 7 years ago. I saw that site and I was like, if this existed for music, it would be so much easier, and I would have used it myself so many times. And people do say now, like, oh, I can't believe no one's ever done this before. But I think it's a problem, right? I mean, it's been a problem that's been brewing ever since kind of the change in the industry landscape, and like home recording went to the home, or recording songs went to home recording. So like 15 years. But I think the solution definitely could have come sooner and saved a lot of people a lot of heartbreak, but it's here now.
It's here now. It's ityDity. Yeah, that's funny though, because like when I was going through the site, I was like, oh, this reminds me very much of like the whole process of 99 Designs. You know, you can get a whole contest of people that'll provide an example of what you want before you choose that, individual person. So you get to have more control. And I think it works both ways, because the songwriter also has that benefit, but I think for producers, they also save a lot of time before they fully go on to, work with somebody that just doesn't work out. And I guess, what has the response been from the producers on the site, and how they like responded well to what you guys do?
They have the same problems. I was nervous about how they would respond, but producers have the same problems that artists have, that the industry is saturated with producers, so-called producers. So anyone with a laptop says that they're a producer, but they don't actually have the chops, and they haven't put in the 10,000 hours, and they don't know really what they're doing. So now I have talked to many talented producers who don't even want to call themselves a producer anymore, because they feel like that term is is meaningless now. Yeah. So they're up against that, and they're trying to convince clients to hire them and try to rise above the noise of these amateur producers. And we help them do that. So now, they have on our site, when you get down to that sketch process, it's like a 1 in 4 shot of, getting hired by a client through your sketch. You just show what you can do. You don't have to spend time and money marketing yourself, and like DMing artists on Facebook or Instagram to get new clients. Like, you just show, hey, look, I am better than the rest, and I am a better fit for you, and here's what I can do. And then what happens 50% of the time, that leads to ongoing work too. So you're not just bidding for like one client, you're bidding for an ongoing client like most of the time, because the artist has seen that you are a better fit for them above all of these other potential candidates. Yeah.
It also gives them more freedom, because they get to work with, I think, way more artists than, if they were just stuck working on with whoever's in their area.
Totally. Oh yeah. They get exposure to all of these artists they would have never contacted before, like gotten to meet before, for sure. And whether you're in Nashville or whether you're in Ann Arbor, Michigan, like we've had Nashville producers hired, get more jobs than what's available to them in their area, because this is also saturated. I'm in Nashville, and this is also, hard to get, you're up against a lot of competition. But then also, if you're a producer,
music capital,
Yeah. If you're a producer in Colorado Springs, Colorado, then you can start working with Nashville artists too. So yeah, it opens up so many doors.
That's crazy. This concept is so interesting. It made me wonder, just even about like the label dynamic, and like, if I was like, say like Universal or something like that, I would want to like have your project like infused in my like umbrella. in a way, you know, because think about how many like in-house or just like people they work with in their system. Like imagine if a label could like work with you guys to do something like that, just like amongst themselves. It would almost, I don't know, it's such a weird thing because it's you're almost, it's an A&R almost platform, but it's like self-serving. And I just love that about it. And I feel like if like if I was signed to a label, that's the kind of freedom I would want with producers, but I just don't think that people who are signed get that type of freedom at all. So it's almost like this is encouraging to stay independent too. Like I feel like it's almost like an independent promotion, you know, to take a chance on yourself because more tools are becoming more readily available.
Totally. I love that. And I mean, I have thought that it will likely at some point be interesting to either a big label or, you know, Amazon, Spotify, Apple. I could see all of them being potentially interested in a marketplace like this for that empowers creatives, because it is, you know, all of them have been saying, especially when you're talking about the DSPs like Spotify and Apple and Amazon. I mean, they're all kind of wanting to say that they're for the creators, and they are each investing in a range of like creator centric things, but it's but I do think something like this would appeal to them. But and then yeah, we definitely kind of work like a label used to work. Like I said, like labels used to in the past more so you know, really hands-on develop the artist, then pair the artist with a producer in the studio who, you know, like famous examples like Max Martin and Amy Winehouse, I think, were paired together by the label. They did the Back to Black album that broke her career in the States. Like they had this vantage point where they could say, you know, you'd be really good with this person. And now that whole thing doesn't exist, at least for artists that, you know, who are just starting out. I don't even know how much it exists at, you know, a higher level. I'm not sure, but yeah, this is kind of like giving that access to the independent now. Like they don't really need a label to find a good match. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that knowledge and that experience isn't quite as, you know, widespread or as needed as it was back in the day. Like there's a lot of like the younger generation that don't have that knowledge to pair, you know, a producer and a certain artist and sounds together because they don't necessarily need that thing. They can just, like you said, anybody with a phone or a laptop and Fruity Loops can, you know, make a beat, make a song now, and it definitely changed things dramatically. And I guess like what type of genres do you guys work in? Does it work with anything, or is there like a specific genre more so than others that you think would work for?
So right now we're in like anything that's more singer-songwriting, but that can expand into, that can go towards like R&B even, or alt pop, but definitely like folk, indie rock, and a little bit of country pop. Yeah, but everything, I mean, and one of the things like our song blueprint shows you is almost all of these genres these days all stem from, we give you this report that shows you also like what's called your artist family tree and your eras, and it all stems from like soul, R&B, hip hop, like all of the modern music has that infused in it. Especially I'm in Nashville, and the country market right now is totally infused by that. So we have what we don't do right now is work with strict beat makers or electronic music, but pretty much everything in a singer-songwriter genre has an infusion of lots of different types of music, for sure.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question, because I mean, I know like in the other genres it's becoming more of a thing, but also in hip hop it's always kind of been this way, especially when you're growing up. There's always just producers out there that will sell like packs of beats to people, or like, you know, there's always these marketplaces where you can just go and try to find a beat that would match your song. And there's just whole people that just make their whole career off of just producing packs and packs of beats and sending them out to people. And yeah, I was just wondering if that would be like another way that you guys would see growing or whatnot, because, and obviously in hip hop, it's always beat making and production is such a key thing for artists when they're trying to find something for a song.
Yeah, I'm not, it's never been my area, but I do know that there are places that exist like that already. So I don't know how soon we'd get into that space.
They're most of them are pretty janky, to be honest. Yeah, yeah, they're pretty much like, yeah. Try not to get a virus while on the website, but I'm just trying to find
Oh,
something.
wow.
They're very like, put slapped together places that you can just go and hopefully find something.
And to what you said earlier too about, software is so accessible now that we don't just work with songwriters who come to the table with just like a guitar and the vocal. That is a lot of the time, and we're perfect for that type of songwriter. But we also work with people who do have GarageBand or some sort of like Logic or something, and they've kind of pieced. They're not, they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but I put together this thing, and this, so they're doing this pre-production that they don't even realize that they're doing. And so sometimes they come with a more fleshed out vision of what they want, but they can't get to the next level by themselves because you can do only so much on your own right now, unless you're like, unless you put in the hours to become a mix engineer and a producer and all of that. So we totally work with those artists too. And I love that. And so do producers, because it's kind of, again, like they've kind of taken some steps to figure out themselves before coming to ityDity, before working with producers.
Right.
So we do both.
In terms of the producers and the artists working on ityDity, you said there's like a lot of things sort of like preset in there. Is there sort of just like a standard like splits and things like that? Just in terms of that, like once they get their final song, is there like a standard everybody knows before I even selected that this would be like a percentage thing, or do they discuss further along the way? I'm just interested in how that goes along with, you guys as sort of a third party initiating this sort of transaction.
Yeah, it's all baked into the terms of service. So right now it's a standard contract for any project that comes through the site or any song that comes through the site, which is songwriters always own 100% of their copyright. They own 100% of their master. They own 100% of the stems. They own 100% of the songwriting royalties. And then they split 10% of the sound recording royalties and keep 90%. So, and sound recording royalties are generated from like a master. I mean, I'm sure but from a master recording, and so like, and it's usually anytime your song's played on Spotify is generally where those are generated. But in terms of like, having the decision of where your song gets placed and having all of that say in your song, that's all going to always end and be with the songwriter. In the future, I could see that deal as we grow, and that's just to keep it simple, to have this like blanket, contract with everyone. I could totally see as we grow, giving the ability to the songwriter to kind of choose different terms. So maybe they wanted to pay less money up front and offer more sound recording royalties, or maybe they are looking for more of a songwriting partner, then they could offer, those things. Yeah.
Interesting.
And the 10% sound recording royalty, that's a 5% sound recording royalty to your producer. So your producer gets paid cash, and then the 5%. And that also helps. What that does too is it helps to reduce the upfront cost. If you're offering your producer a little bit of royalties, then they have like this incentive for, potential back end revenue. And then, you can offer maybe a little less upfront, depends on the marketability of your song. And then the other 5% goes to ityDity. And that's, again, to the same thing, to keep our costs super low for songwriters up front as well. Since, what we do, we think, and you've mentioned this, I think what we do is bring a lot of these like label-like services back and available to everyone. And labels used to take a huge percentage of sound recording royalties for that. So we just major
percentage.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty much everything,
Yeah.
90%. Yeah,
90% and the ownership of everything, right? So
they keep the masters, and and the artist never sees the stems. That's amazing. So you're just saying a lot of that. People who I guess don't know too much about music, basically the artist gets everything, like the stuff that Prince was fighting with his label about owning and stuff like that, you would walk out with already, so you would have the control. So that's really dope. I like, I'm glad that it's like pretty transparent that way. Because that, I think, is also another big roadblock in the music industry, is once it comes down to splits, you know, whether or not there is a bad relationship that could sour the relationship, right? So.
And yeah, and like you said just now, like, and then that conversation a lot of times comes at the end.
Right.
That conversation should come at the beginning, you know, but you don't want to really spoil a relationship and kind of bring up contracts, you know, when you're just starting to work with somebody in a creative zone. And so a lot of people don't bring that up. So we just take care of that. That's all built into the site. And you don't have to have that conversation. Like, everybody understands these are the terms, and now you get down to creating.
Yeah, you're not going to create like this guaranteed number one, you know, hit that's going to blow your whole career, and then come to the end of it like, yeah, we're going to need, you know, 100% of this if we're going to put this out, you know, stuff like that.
And like, that's what happened with me. I mean, I was not, you know, I don't think I was destined for stardom in any way, but so I don't think it was like a big deal, but it still happened to me where, you know, we finished the songs, there was some kind of interest, and then all of a sudden this person wants their name all over the song, all, you know, half of the songwriting credits, songs they didn't write, half of the masters, like, just crazy. So yeah, I'm definitely, when I started at ityDity, that was one of my first things I did. I was like, I gotta get the terms right. And looking back, like, you know, there were a lot of things I needed to do, but for me, that was like one of the first things I spent money on, with getting legal and a lawyer. And over the years, it's been more and more, and we keep refining it. But yeah, it's super important to me.
Yeah, we just had a conversation with another songwriter who's been doing it for like 20 plus years, and that was one of his biggest things is like we talk about labels and how they're negative these days, but there are a lot of services that they offer, particularly like in the legal side of things, that you need as an artist that you don't know when you're first starting out. You just think, I just want to create, but being able to have like a contract in place without necessarily needing to hire like a lawyer or something, which is very expensive, is a huge plus for people when they first just want to create a song.
Yeah, I've heard that, like, advice given to songwriters, like, you know, the best thing you can do is hire a lawyer. It's like, people aren't going to do that. Like, they don't
not gonna spend money on that. They don't have the money, and then they don't want to spend the money on, you know, it's
yeah,
it's always a big expense, but they are like very necessary. So you avoid all these horror stories that you get from the music industry. So I think that's like a really cool thing. Like, because like I said, the labels, they might not have always been great in certain things, but their services are needed. And I think that a lot of these people who are turning independent are realizing that, oh, we did need some of like this A&R stuff. I did need some of all this other things. So you guys and maybe other platforms to come will kind of feel that space that was needed. And I think that's really cool.
thanks. Yeah, I think so. I think so too. Like, when I think about the structure that the label used to have in place for artists, and still has for some artists, like after they kind of make it, I mean, it's so, to me, it's like amazing, like to have that like level or layer of protection and oversight and just security. But the downside of it was, yeah, they were taking a lot. Yeah, that was, you know, the big downside. So yeah, I think that we're like a mix of both. Like, we're, you know, letting the artists maintain all the ownership, but giving them all those benefits of what a label used to do.
So, I mean, I've seen that you've been nominated to like Badass Women in Music and all these other things. So I guess you guys are doing very well. How's like the response been so far to the site?
Yes, I am now officially a badass. Yeah, the response is honestly, Dario, it's really good. Like, this is my first like startup, and, you know, not all startups are a good idea. And I just have never felt once since I started like that this was not a big need, that this was not kind of the way that that our solution can solve all these problems. Like, it just feels, the reaction has always been, every time I talk to an artist or a producer on the phone, it's just always so like, man, this, you know, this could have saved me so much heartache, or, you know, oh man, this is my first time doing this. I wouldn't even know where to start without you. Like, producers, like I told you before, just saying, I don't even call myself a producer anymore because I'm up against like having to battle with all of these amateurs. Like, I just think it just feels like it's the more I get into it, the bigger the problem feels like it is, and the better the solution. I'm, you know, a little biased. I love ityDity, but I really wouldn't keep it going. It's so hard to do. I mean, I built the platform myself. I'm 5 years in. This is my life now, and I wouldn't be doing it if it just didn't feel like the feedback is just, wow, this is so needed in the industry.
How so this is your first, do you have any like business experience before this, or this is your first like foray into the business world and try and start something up on your own?
Definitely my first official like startup, but looking back, I was always an entrepreneur. And like I said, I was in artist producer matchmaking prior to this. So when I was living in Southern California, after my first few experiences being like, why is this so hard to do, get my songs produced, I went to school for music production, just like a trade school, Orange Coast College in Orange County, for 2 years. And then I started a meetup called Orange County Songwriters. We grew to be the largest meetup in Orange County for songwriters, and we would have like these competitions that were kind of like American Idol style, and then we would also like pair producers and songwriters in the studio and walk them through it and show them the equipment and talk about the terms. And then I started an indie label after that, and that was in Los Angeles in Studio City. It was an indie label and artist collective, and I had a lot of roles, from the A&R role and going out and building relationships and scouting talent, and then also kind of being the legal liaison. And that's when I learned a lot about terms and for standard terms for contracts and production, things like that. We also just had a lot of parties. We had
events.
Yeah.
official company events.
Yeah. So that's my background and how I got into this. I was always trying to start something and solve these problems, but I never really made it a true business, and definitely never on a tech platform or something that would be like globally scalable. So that's definitely different.
Yeah. No, I can see your company growing and growing and growing and growing. Because like you said, I think there's been such an emphasis on the independent artists getting distributed that they forget how to get to the point of needing distribution. And I think there's that big gap that I feel like ityDity is trying to fill, which is, how do you get your music ready for the next step, which is like that kind of distribution and getting it out there and stuff, because you have to have a master copy. You can't, unmixed songs sound unmixed. Like, good people that listen to music all the time are going to be able to tell, just based on even the vocal stems, like, oh, they didn't take the noise out of the background or so, like all of that little stuff. And that's what's so cool is I don't think I've ever seen anybody really emphasize that beginning stage. Because I've seen even just like new types of labels, like United Masters is a company that distributes, and they sort of do like placement, but it's almost like you guys would be a perfect marriage, it'd be like, because it's just the focus on the independent and then, but them needing more resources. Like, I feel like they need to come over to you to find, the correct people to work with outside of a bubble, because it's really hard to get outside of your bubble, even in any creative field, right? Geography is a big part of pretty much anything. And, sometimes it's nice to, like, if you have an idea, get somebody who actually has experience in that sound. Like if it's more Southern or a West Coast vibe, you find somebody there, and it's like, that's what's so cool. I'm just like really like impressed by the idea, and I look forward to seeing it continue to grow. Really, that's, just a comment.
That reminds me of something what you just said. When labels used to pair people together, there's this one example I used to use when I would talk about it, which was the Bob Marley "Stir It Up" song. The labels brought in, I forget his name now, but like a Southern rock guitarist on that song. And that is what broke Bob in the United States. And I just think having that access to different types of people, like outside of your normal bubble, outside of your normal genres, like what magic can happen. And I have talked to so many hip hop producers like in Atlanta who are like, I want to work with singer-songwriters in Nashville, but I'm never going to get hired. Like they don't know about me. But having this like platform where they can show what they're capable of, and then songwriters might start to think, oh, I thought I wanted this, but this sounds really cool. I just think like the level of innovation that might be able to happen through ityDity and is already happening, that's really exciting.
Yeah, there's a level of surprise on both sides, right? Like the vocalist is surprised by like maybe what instrumentation, like, oh, they used violin, and like, oh, they're using acoustic guitar, and like, oh, but like, and then vice versa, like just seeing what sparks their interest, and hearing like, oh wow, this is a really talented writer. I really want to like, help them out or see what I can do. So it's adding fun to the industry again, right? Like that was part of it that I think was starting to like fade away, is the grind is such a grind, right? And these moments are important to be excited about what you're making and stuff. So
yeah, it can be totally isolating and just hard. So, and the response to post-COVID, I mean, the doors are just opening, like people are just so open to it, like working with people outside of their normal place. So, and like working with people remotely and online. So I just think it is a time for fun. People are ready now to like put music out, be creative, like just be with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we are experiencing like a shift right now. Like it feels like a shift's happening with ityDity, and I think that is, this might just be the perfect time. Like people are just ready to put their work out there, but also be open to different types of collaborators in different areas.
Yeah,
awesome. I have like 2 more questions. So as an entrepreneur, finally a full-on entrepreneur now, like, what was the moment when you woke up and you're like, well, this is my life now? And then also like, how many like, oh shit moments have you had like getting this all started,
Woke up and this is my life now. I would say kind of recently. I mean, I've been grinding, but I kept my day job for a long time. So I was doing this full time, and I was running a huge rehab facility full time in Colorado. And so that only just ended maybe a year ago, and we got a little bit of angel investment a year ago, right before the pandemic. And so that's when we, went full time as a team. So there's 3 of us on the team. So maybe that's when I was like, I guess this is my life now, and just kind of experiencing, there's just more momentum going on with it right now. So it feels like, all right, this is a real thing. Like, this isn't just something like, I'm not crazy. Like this seems to be, happening. So, oh shit moments. What do you mean by that?
For example, we've had a lot, like, with our website and everything, like a whole database getting erased, like Christmas Day or something like that,
Oh yeah.
All the technical issues that pop up that you think everything's working great, and then all of a sudden it's not, and it's like, oh shit, like how do I fix this,
Yeah, I mean, since I've built the whole thing myself, I definitely have those moments, and I just was redoing a database thing right before I got on the call with you guys today. So I don't know, oh shit moments, but I'll tell you, I've had hard experiences. I've had really bad experiences where I'm just like crying on the bathroom floor, like that you really wanted this pitch to go well, or I really wanted this idea, ityDity can be so big, and we can do so many things, and we have to stay focused right now on like this artist producer relationship.
Don't want to get too many hands, too many.
Yeah, and there's been times where I tried like to do more than we could do at the time. Like I thought, oh, we could maybe do these competitions, and we could sign some talent to like these deals and like some publishing deals. And I was trying to do too much, and it wasn't working out, and then you feel like you're dropping the ball. I mean, it's like the worst feeling. So that type of stuff. And just, I'm on the front end. I'm pitching the company a lot. So I'm talking to investors. I'm in pitch competitions, doing a lot of public speaking. And, sometimes that just doesn't always go the way you see it in your head. And it's just hard, man. It's so hard. But if it was easy, everybody would do it. So it's okay.
Absolutely. It's always hard to, start something from the ground up, but I think it's also like the most satisfying thing when it does start to like work and people do start to respond like positively towards it.
Yeah, and I think that there's always going to be though like pockets of, maybe hopefully one day it's just all of this,
yeah.
but it's so far it's just pockets of those moments where you really hear things like that you're changing somebody's life and making something better and preventing things from happening to the next generation. And when you hear those things and you see that it's doing that, I mean, it does make it worth it, but it's not all the time. So yeah, you got to just live for those moments.
Mm-hmm. I guess I have one more question about just generally the artists that since you've been going for several years now, have any artists had like I guess success for them as independents, with the process, not only creating it, but like have they been able to place the song and it do well and things like that, like type, I guess, success stories of the collaboration?
Yeah, we've definitely had many of the songwriters get placed on playlists, like Spotify playlists or YouTube playlists. One of them, Bella Mooser, One Kiss More. I know that song got millions of plays on a YouTube playlist. We've had songwriters, Michelle Roderick is a Colorado songwriter who got like Song of the Year for some Colorado, the state of Colorado's like annual competition. So yeah, and we've had songwriters who have said, oh, I worked with some music before, took it to playlists. They said it was, I spent money to have it produced and they said it wasn't up to par. And then we worked with them on their songs and they did get playlist placement after that. We are making sure like they're getting songs that are quality and that they're not going to spend all that money and be rejected. So, yeah, Jake Bresnig just is an artist we just worked with. Oh my God, I love his song so much. It's called Your Song. And he just got playlist placement as well. So I know I don't know what the play count is at right now, but I know it's doing really well. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that goes back to those splits, right? And, the residual, getting the placement is how the process continues to grow and everything. So that's really cool. And, congratulations to those artists and everybody. Make sure you check out the names that Emily just dropped in those songs and support everybody.
Definitely. Yeah. If you go to ityDity, you can see some of those, those artist songs on the homepage as well, or on the songwriter transformation pages. There's like links to their Spotify songs as well. So you can find them there.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's all about the artist, of course. I mean,
yeah.
And like you said, like there's just so much emphasis on like the end, like getting sync, get your songs on a playlist, but to get there, you need your songs done well.
Yeah.
And we are going to prevent you from having to waste time and money doing that the wrong way and with the wrong people so that you can get there. But yeah, you're going to do it in a kind of a surefire way.
Oh yeah. Trust me. We get a lot of songs and a lot of music submissions where it's like, ooh, like there's something there, but you needed a little something extra, like to really catch people's attention. So I'm glad to see that you guys are filling that space. I guess one question we always ask before we get out of here is kind of like, living life fearless. Our whole motto is that, as a creative, as an artist, as anything, like you kind of have to, be a fearless type of individual, not necessarily not have fear, but to face those fears and to keep pushing. Do you agree with that? How do you feel like that's kind of been help motivating you as an entrepreneur and a musician?
Yeah, I love it's such a great motto and slogan. And for some people, and for me in the beginning, it's easier said than done. I would say that like combating fear is now a habit for me. And when I started this, like it gets easier, so I love that motto because I think when you start out doing it, like going into a place that's scary and looking where you least want to look, like fixing problems that you see and that make themselves known to you, like it's hard. But now 5 years in, I can say that it's a habit. Like I get up every day and I'm just doing it. So I love that because people just need so little motivation. And the same with songwriters or artists, like they're always scared, like what if nobody likes my song. Like, what if a producer doesn't want to work with me? What if what if it's embarrassing? It doesn't turn out the way, like, it's so vulnerable to be an artist and put your music out there. But if you just take the first step, like, there are people around that can help you. There are resources for you, and it will become a habit, I think, to continue to create. And it's become a habit for me to like continue to grow and build ityDity.
Sweet. So I think, any singers, any musicians, any songwriters out there that, kind of follow us and watch us, ityDity is definitely a platform that you should be checking out for the future. And I think you guys are onto something very special. And I fully expect to see you guys as some huge business on the next whatever, and I can't wait to, hopefully we're fans and we'll be following you guys and hopefully, maybe collaborate on some stuff in the future.
Well, you heard it here first. So thank you so much for having us and giving us this platform. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. And to everybody who's joined us, until next time, and keep living life fearless.
Yes.